anything else with them. They're for in case somebody missed a session and they want to listen to it afterwards.
Cool. So me going last is actually good because I can segue right into talking about where this particular training came from. I'm Sherry Bevel. I teach politics, and the most exciting part of that for me is nonviolence, sometimes in the classroom, but this is more fun, where we have a context where we can explore together what nonviolence is, how we can use it in our communities. So I've just been with a bunch of organizers, and so that's got me all psyched up. The way this came about, I'm sure all of you all are at least broadly familiar with the fact that there was actually, I'm not going to assume. You all know how to raise your hands, as a response to raise your hands in chat, like just raise the hand. Thank you. Okay, thanks. Okay. If you're familiar with the fact that there was a civil rights movement here in the United States in the 1960s, raise your hand.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you. Well, my next question will help anybody, can you all talk about the context in the 60s? What made a civil rights movement necessary? Anybody? Just unmute and
we got some people with hands up here.
Okay. I guess
Abby, do you want to speak to that?
I think there's two Abby's. It was me or the other one?
I was looking at you. We'll call her Abigail and you Abby. How's that?
Okay. There was.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, the reason for the social justice movement in the 60s was due to primarily segregation, but just overall the gross mistreatment of people of color, specifically Black people, and the like I said earlier, segregation, but also the police brutality and the lynchings that were occurring a lot during that time, and also due to the I'm sorry, due to the kind of, not really the start, but more the prominence of the KKK.
Oh, all right, thanks. Neela, and then Naman, and correct me if I'm saying your name wrong. Or either of you, if you can hear me, it'd be great if you start your video. Go ahead.
Yeah, so yeah, segregation was obviously one of the main motivators for having a civil rights movement. In general, Black people were treated unfairly. Not just Black people, but in general, other people of color were also treated poorly in comparison to white people, and in general. And what that did was it disadvantaged Black people when they were searching for jobs, houses, and in general, it inhibited their ability to have a sustainable livelihood. But yes, there was also a lot of communal violence that definitely triggered a lot of marches and protests.
Okay, great. Neela, you can just click the same place you did before, and it'll go back down. Thank you. All right, so cool. So a broad group of people actually were able to mount a really effective response that resulted in, among other things, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Voting Rights Act of 1965. And so since that point, people have been really interested in understanding what happened, like what were the foundational elements in terms of the process and in terms of the philosophy, and getting the word out about that so that people will be able to replicate it. The first person, so this curriculum that you are about to embark on started with a conversation between Dr. Martin Luther King and one of his lieutenants named Bernard Lafayette. A day or two before Dr. King was killed, they were talking on the phone. Dr. King was in Memphis. Dr. Lafayette was in DC at the Poor People's Campaign. And part of their conversation was Dr. King telling Bernard, listen, we need to institutionalize and internationalize nonviolence. It needs to be taught to people. It needs to be taught in schools. We found since that organizations can use this social technology, if you will, and it needs to go all over the world. So Bernard, agreed that sounds like a good idea. And part of it was that people were seeing protests in the street, and there can be a tendency to think that that's all there is, unless someone gives you information to the contrary. So that's what they were, talking about countering. It's not just jumping out in the street with a sign. Now, there are times you need to jump out in the street with a sign, and or other forms of protest, but it's not just protest. So a couple of days later, Dr. King was assassinated, and Bernard decided to take that conversation as his marching orders. I am going to develop a curriculum to help folks understand what this is. So he's in the education department at Harvard a little bit later as a student. He is also, there's another student there also who's a veteran of the movement in a different way, who comes out of the Peace Church tradition, and that's David Jensen. And so the two of them set out to develop a way of sharing this information with people that's interactive, low tech, because they wanted to make sure they could go into parts of the world that might not have electricity. And I think from talking to both of them that no one has been more shocked at how responsive people have been to this curriculum than the two of them. So here we are many decades later, and this is what hopefully, we're hoping that we're offering you something that will be really beneficial to you as you work on social problems where you are. And Mary Lou and I come out of something called the Addie Wyatt Center for Nonviolence Training. And we met in the process of a book being compiled, written by many people. But Mary Lou was one of the editors and contributed a lot. I wrote a chapter for it, and it was about the Chicago Freedom Movement, the period where Dr. King came to Chicago, and many other people from the movement. There's a whole history just about that. So we decided to start working with young people in 2016, and that's where the Addie Wyatt Center came from. And we also do a lot of work with Honor of Peace. And Marie, can you tell us a bit about that?
Sure. So On Earth Peace is an organization coming out of one of the peace churches that Sherry just identified. So David Jensen, who is one of the co-authors of the curriculum, is Church of the Brethren. And we are an agency of the Church of the Brethren as one part of our work. So our primary mission is to develop and walk with leaders and communities who are working for justice and peace. So you all are part of that. You're all emerging leaders who have concerns that you're going to address. And we're really excited about being part of equipping you to do that. We strive to move from education and training to actually organizing and accompaniment. So like really working with y'all to put what you're learning into practice. So one of the key programs that we have, which you've already met a couple of people from there, is that we have a internship program for college students. So Haya and Anesu are both coming to you all from that program. And so this is a chance to for you all to get to know us while you're in kind of high school and early college and begin to think about whether you might want to continue this through a paid internship at some point. So continue the work of King and nonviolence training and organizing, but also like some of the projects that you're working on. So that's part of how we get to connect with you all as a next step, maybe to your work with FOR. And so Mary Lou, I'll let you share more about, I think that's right, FOR and this particular training.
Okay, so the Fellowship of Reconciliation is an old line peace and nonviolence organization that has been around since World War I, 1914, if you can believe it, trying to bring peace to the world in a whole variety of ways. And so FOR has also done a lot of social justice related work. They were doing racial justice work back in the 1940s, even before the civil rights movement, some early kinds of actions. They've worked on many, many different things. It's an international organization operating in many countries around the world and trying to bring peace and nonviolence. So maybe that's enough to say, because I think people have had a little bit of acquaintance with it. This program is, I think, it's like in its 6th or 7th year. It had a different form before that, and it's been on for 20 years. And one of the things that FOR has been really, really interested in is helping people get started on careers in activism. So working with a lot of people who are in high school and college age who want to do some kind of activism in the community, some kind of project. Sometimes it looks like a old time protest project. Sometimes it's people do, we're going to talk more about this later, but they do what Gandhi would have called constructive programs. We're just trying to make the world better in the way that we can immediately around us. And so those kinds of things are part of nonviolence as well. So we're excited to have you all. Welcome.
So now I guess we should kind of give folks the shape of our day. Let's see, we can, Marie, can you put up the agenda slide, or shall I? And Mary Lou?
I think Haya's got it ready.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Thanks, Haya.
Okay, so here we are. We've been doing the getting started part. We're going to do paired introductions where we'll, in a little while, everybody gets a chance to tell us who they are, to introduce themselves. We'll talk about contexts and concerns. That is, what are your concerns about what's going on in the community, so we can begin to get a sense of what kinds of issues people are working on. Then we're going to go into some of the nonviolence parts. The 4 pillars of Kingian nonviolence. What is nonviolence? What is conflict? How do we deal with conflict?
There's so many idiots in this shit right now.
What did you say? I'm sorry, I missed the question.
I think it was just unmuted conversation.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. How do we think about conflict? What are the 3 dynamics of nonviolence? And evaluation and closing for today. So a lot of this is about getting acquainted and getting a sense of how do we think about nonviolence? And how can it be useful to us? Okay, I think that's all. let's see, every day we're going to take a 20-minute break halfway through. And this 4 hours is a long time. So we're going to have a couple of other stretch breaks and 5-minute breaks here and there when we need to just kind of have a little space to move around a bit. We'd appreciate it if people could stay on the video as much as you can, because we like to see everybody. But I know that sometimes that doesn't work technologically for people. And so if that's the case, if you could just stay active in the chat, verbal sharing, raise your hand, be with us in whatever way you can. And I think we already did the raising hand. Does anybody does everybody know how to do that? Okay. You can raise your hand in person, or you can use the little raise hand sign on in Zoom. You can do it either way. So when we have the agenda up like this, when we have a slide up, we can't see everybody's, we can't see all the faces of people. So sometimes you just have to speak out. Okay, Shoaib raised his hand. Is that a new, do you have a question, Shoaib? Or is that something?
Oh no, it just when you said raise your hand, I thought like we were all
Well, you just did try it out. Okay. Okay, that's great. That's great. Now we know. Okay, so that's where we're headed for today. And I hope, I think you will begin to see how nonviolence really becomes the underpinning for all the work we want to do in the community. Even though maybe you're not thinking of it in that frame to begin with, but it really is the framework on which we all want to operate. Okay. Thank you. We're ready to move on here. Sherry.
Haya, were you going to talk about our policy derived from On-Earth Pieces about whenever we're working with mixed age groups?
I can do that, Sherry. This is Marie.
Oh,
Which
great.
slide do you want me to share?
No, I got it. Hiya. This is like, so, so one of the things we just want to acknowledge is that we are kind of a mixed age group. So some of you all are under 18, some of y'all are over 18, some of you are 18. And so we are just intentional in mixed age spaces of we want to create places where you all can feel comfortable in sharing, but also where we are kind of respecting boundaries. And so On-Earth Peace uses a participant protection policy that is also a child protection policy. So we are going to, when we do breakout groups and pair sharing and things like that, we're going to place youth with youth and adults with adults. So there's going to be some times where y'all get separated into those kind of groups. And that's just to make it so y'all can kind of share in the ways that you need to and feel like you are safe to do that. We're also going to always have, if there are breakout rooms, there's always going to be hosts in the main room. So if you need to get out of your room for some reason, you can just leave the breakout room and come on over to the main space, and there'll be someone there who can, who's there, like if you need them. And we may pop in and out of rooms too, just partially as facilitator privilege, and we get to go do that and see how your conversations are going. But it would also be another chance to like hear if there's concerns or questions. So you can always reach back to us if you need to in those ways. But mostly we just want you to be aware of like kind of our awareness of the age dynamics that are in the room. And we invite you to like let us know if there are things you need us to do to make you feel like you can more fully participate as yourself in this space.
Yeah, and if anyone, for whatever reason, needs to email someone across the youth adult boundary, just copy me, Mary Lou, Marie, all of the above, or as many as you, at least two, let's say that, on the email.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder, Sherry. Yeah, it's just important that we like are protecting those kind of spaces for you all. So email, social media, those kind of things while you're part of this group, make sure you're doing those, copying the leadership into that if you are emailing people who are not in your age group.
Terrific. I think we can get into paired introductions. Mary Lou, are you gonna?
Haya, I think is going to start us off with this.
That's because Haya's the best.
You.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Can we get this screen? Yeah, can we, okay.
I'm on the correct slide. Okay. So hi everyone. So now we're doing just a little bit of fun activity to get to know each other and break the ice. And in this activity, you'll be sent into breakout rooms and pairs for around 8 minutes. And what we're going to do is you'll be discussing just like basic information, your name, your family. You'll have a little fun conversation. But the trick is that you have to write down or at least memorize if you have a very strong memory to memorize what your partner has shared. Because once we come back from the breakout rooms, you'll be talking about your partner as if you're talking about yourself. For instance, let's say Anisu and I were in a breakout room. I'll write down all the prompts you see on the slide, his name, his family, his favorite childhood game. And when we come back, I'll be on the screen saying, hey everyone, I am Anisu and I have 3 siblings. I live in London, my favorite, etc., etc., etc. So do we understand what we're doing? What are we going to do? Just give me a thumbs up or something. I can't see you all, but hopefully I can say some. Okay. Anissa, could you please just share the prompts in the chat? Yeah, Mary did already. Thank you. So I've already set the breakout rooms. I'll just make sure that the time is accurate. If you have any difficulties when your breakout room, you can just come back to the main room and I'll be happy to help. So are we ready? We have 8 minutes and 30 seconds for countdown. Okay, we're ready? I'll send you in the breakout rooms. Bye-bye. Did I not assign? No. Should I pause the recording?
Yeah.
Okay, so welcome back, everyone. I believe we have everyone back from the breakout rooms. How was the activity? Just give me a thumbs up, an emoji, anything. Okay, okay. So how this is going to go is we're going into order. So breakout room 1 will start first, and then the second, the third, and go on. What we'll do is we'll have you on Spotlight. So you and your partner will be the only one on the screen, and you will share as if you are your partner. So we have, could you please tell me your name? How you pronounce your name?
My name's Arush.
Arush. So Arush will talk as if he's Abby. So say, hey everyone, I'm Abby, and you'll start sharing what she shared. And Abby will do the same for you. But the trick again is that when Arush is talking about Abby, we'll be looking at Abby while Arush is talking. And when Abby is talking as if she's Arush, we will be talking and we will be looking at Arush. It's a little bit confusing, but we'll get to it. So are you ready? Arush and Abby, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, take it on.
Wait, should I go
Do you
first
wanna
or?
go first?
Okay.
What do you wanna do?
My name's Abby, and let me look at the questions. I have a younger sister that's in middle school. The most exciting thing that I've done in the past 60 days is my little brother's birthday. My dream vacation would be to, I forgot what that was. And my community concern was climate change.
Right.
There you go. Hi, I'm Ruth. Hi, I'm Arush. I have a younger brother. My favorite childhood game was Shoots and Ladders. My dream vacation would be, I cannot ever pronounce this right. This is my thing. I'm sorry. Cancun, I think. I never say it right. My community concern is social media's effect on preteens. And I think I haven't done anything interesting in the past 60 days, I think is what he said. I think that's everything.
Let's give it out for Arush and Abby. We can like do that. Thank you, Arush and Abby. You set up a lovely first example. So that's how the rest of the rooms are going to go. Room 2, 3, 4, until we get done with all the rooms. We good? Are you set for the second room? Again, thank you, Arush and Abby. I believe we have in the second room, we have Ada and Alex, right?
So
And
I'm
Abigail.
I'm not sure that I can spotlight you if your video is not on. So if you're willing
yeah.
to put your video on when it's time, please go ahead and do that, and then I can spotlight you. Thank you. So it's Abigail, Ada, where are we? Oh, Alex, let me find, sorry. It takes me a while to find you all. It's great to have such a big group that to scroll through so many people to. That's the other thing with turning on videos is it actually like moves you up in the in the list of people so I can find you better. Eda, are you able to turn on your video? If not, we'll just let you go ahead and share.
Yeah, can I just go ahead and share?
Yeah, and I guess you can choose who you want to be, whether you want to be Abigail or Alex, and then they'll be the other person. You can start.
Okay, I'll be Abigail.
So we'll look Abigail. Go ahead, Ada.
Name Abigail. Family. I have one older sister. Favorite childhood game, Uno. Most exciting thing in past 60 days, I went to Canada. Dream vacation, I want to visit Portugal. Expectation for this training, I want to learn more about violence and non-violence and how Dr. King coped with that and like which resources he used. Community concern, education and equality.
Thank you, Ada. I'm sorry, Alex. Just thank you, Ada, for talking about Abigail. But what we want to make it more interesting is that you talk as if you were Abigail. So, Alex, right now, if you're talking about Ada, I believe, talk as you are Ada.
Okay.
Okay, my name's Ada. I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters. My favorite childhood game was most video games, but especially Mario. The most exciting thing that happened in the past 60 days was probably leaving school. My dream vacation is to go to Dubai. And my community interest was climate change.
All right.
So my name is Alex. I have one little brother, but I didn't really have a favorite childhood game. The most exciting thing that happened recently was getting hospitalized. My dream vacation would be exploring Europe and the Mediterranean, and my expectation for this training is to find good resources for my project. And my community concern is how the US government is treating trans youth.
Thank you.
Let's give it up for the group.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And in the next group, we have Alyssa and Justin. Alyssa and Justin, are you ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
But right before you get started, I want to let you all know, I just feel like a weirdo lurking, but I'm tracking your concerns. I'm keeping track of them. Go ahead, you guys.
Yeah. Do you want to go first, or I could
Sure.
go first?
I'll go first. My name is Justin, and I live with my mom, dad, 2 brothers, and I'm the oldest. My favorite childhood game is kickball. The most exciting thing in the last 60 days was I went to Canada and ate a lot of food. My dream vacation is Italy, and my community concern is dental health. And my expectations is to learn more information about being an activist.
Hi, my name is Alyssa. I don't really have family. My favorite childhood game is Capture the Flag. The most exciting thing in the past 60 days for me was internships and gardening. My dream vacation is to travel the world and open up farms to help world hunger. Expectations for this training is to learn from everyone and their experiences, and community concerns is hunger.
Great.
Thank you so much, Justin and Alyssa.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now we got Anila and Anuva. I hope I pronounced your names right. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Can I share out? I can't turn on my camera.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay, thank you.
You will.
Anuva, do you want to go first?
Sure. So my name is Anella. I have 4 siblings and a dog. My favorite childhood game, I don't really have a favorite childhood game. The most exciting thing I did in the past 60 days was go to California to visit my friend. And my dream vacation is to go backpacking throughout Europe or Asia and take pasta making classes in Italy. I don't really have any expectations for this training. And my community concern is decolonization.
My name is Anuva. I am a single child in a parent household, I think. And I'm sorry, I forgot your childhood game. But the most exciting thing I did in the past 60 days was play piano in a retirement home. My dream vacation is to take a trip to Europe or backpack around Southeast Asia. My expectations, I don't have any expectations for this training, and my community concern is eating disorders.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both. Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Anila and Anuva. So we're going to the room 5. We have Fatima and Ishna. I hope you were able to figure out a way to communicate. Marie, are
We
you able
did.
to spotlight any of them?
Yeah, I have hers, but I don't know if she got mine because it was in the chat.
I have yours.
Okay, good.
Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
So my partner was Fatima, and I'm just going to share out what she told me. So she has 3 brothers, and she doesn't have a favorite childhood game, and her dream vacation is either, there's a lot of places, Milan, Italy, or South Korea. And from this program, she hopes to learn a lot of new things and try different things, different experiences.
Okay, I'm gonna go now. Hi, my name is Ishna. I don't have any siblings. I don't have a favorite childhood game. I want to visit Greece, and I wish to have new friendships and learn a lot from this program. And also, that was a mistake earlier. I don't have 3 brothers, I have 2 brothers. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Ishan, for that was interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mhm.
I can't
So
turn
who's
on my
next?
camera, but I can share.
Yeah, you're good.
Um,
Do you want to start?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Ivy. I'm an only child and I live with my parents. My favorite childhood game was tag or hide and seek. The most exciting thing I've been doing recently is hanging out with friends. And my dream vacation is anywhere in Italy. And I'd like to learn all and my are
Moksha, can you hear us?
I think they cut out a little bit.
Yeah, sounds like it.
I can just go. My name is Moksha. I'm an only child. My favorite childhood game is Tetherball. Something exciting that I did was go on some college tours in Boston. My dream vacation is anywhere in Southeast Asia. My expectations are just to learn a lot about like different movements. And my community concern is environmentalism.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, and I'm Haya turned off her camera, so I'm not sure if she had to step away. Oh, there you are.
Sorry, I had to do something really urgent.
Oh, no problem. We're on room 7.
Yep. So thank you for sharing. Now we got Naman and Shio. I'm sorry for butchering your names, but I'm trying my best. Maria, are you able to spotlight them or anything on camera? Are you able to be on camera for this just the activity?
Oh, I can't be on camera here.
There's Naman. Okay.
Naman, are you gonna go first or me?
I can go first.
All right.
So, hi, I'm Shoeb, and my favorite childhood game is Angry Birds. The most exciting thing I did in the past 60 days. Actually, I forgot that, but my dream vacation is going to Dubai. Expectations for this training is to is really just to learn. Community and my community concern is racism. And yeah, that's it. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go next. Hi, my name is Naman. My favorite childhood game is Monopoly. The most exciting thing that I've done in the past 60 days is freshman year finishing. My dream vacation is going to Italy. Expectations from this training is becoming a better leader, and community concern is over fertilization and crops. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you both. Thank you both. That was great to hear. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Which room are we now?
We're in room 8 with Neda
Yeah.
and Nina.
Are you able to be on camera for the activity? We got Neda on camera. Where's Nella?
Oh,
Hi,
hey,
Nella.
I don't think so. I can be like on camera.
Okay, that's good. Could you start?
I can go first.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Nita. I am the third oldest of 9 siblings, or 5 siblings, or I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and I live with my parents as well. My favorite childhood game is a video game that I do not remember the name of. The most exciting thing in the past 60 days, forgot, honestly. Dream vacation was to go to Texas to visit friends. Expectation for this training is to learn more. And community concern is racism, particularly racism and elementary education.
Okay.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Nady. I have 5 members in my family, and I live with my family as well. And I forgot about the game. And most exciting things in past 60 days was that I'm done with college, and it's so exciting. And that's how I got distracted, and I started asking her like question about like degrees and all stuff. So that's why I forgot like the game name. And my dream location was, I guess, like New Zealand, something like that. And expectation for this training is to learn about violence. And a community concern is like to learn, or my topic related, like health.
Health?
Like in the healthcare field, I guess.
Okay. What was the expectation? Something about violence? Learn about
Yeah, because like we mentioned like violence, like you guys mentioned violence like in the slides.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's give it up for the pair.
Thank you. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
We're down to our 2 last pairs. We have Sienna and Topo, right?
Yeah, I can go first. Hi, I'm Sienna. My family is my mom and my dad and my younger sister. And my childhood game that I liked is Monopoly. The most exciting thing, I haven't done too much stuff that's exciting lately. I've just been having fun here in Seattle. My dream vacation is to go to Korea. And my goals for this project are to learn a lot and also to get a better idea of what I want to do for my project. Like, that's my community concern.
Hi, I'm Talbot. My family is my mom, dad, older brother, and younger sister. And my favorite childhood game was also Monopoly. The most exciting thing I've done in the past 60 days is going to LA for basketball. My dream vacation would be going to Bora Bora, and my expectations for this training is to learn a lot. And my community concern is like cleaning parks and litter in parks.
Thank you both. Thank you. That was wonderful. And we're going to our last pair of today. We have Anisu and Zach. We have both of them on our camera so we can see them.
Hi, I'm Anesu. I have 1 older brother and 1 younger sister. And I love Pac-Man. And when I was younger, I played an old version of Snake. And I currently live in Southern Africa right now. And in the last 60 days, I moved here, and it's really fun feeling the hot summer weather. And I also like a boba tea. And I traveled to Washington, D.C. recently, and I like milk grape tea.
Great.
Hi, everybody. My name is Zach. I'm in Olympia, Washington. My family, I have a sister, and mom and my dad, we live together there. And we have an exciting trip coming up going to Korea. That's going to be really fun. We're going to see a lot of sightseeing, a lot of shopping. We're going to see the DMZ, how everything kind of started with democracy. So lots of exciting things coming around there. So that's going to be the most exciting thing in the past 60 days. Favorite childhood game, I've been playing tennis from like day 1. So I'm really like tennis champ. We had a tournament recently, and we did really well and did a lot of good matches. Had a lot of good matches there. My favorite place I'd like to go to is Hawaii. There's something just about the ocean and just like the sightseeing, the shopping, the place that it is very like beautiful. It gets you very calm and peaceful. And I'm excited for this, expect the training to share a lot with everybody, get to talk, get to really like join ideas about social justice and all that space. So excited to be here, and also love boba tea. That's the favorite one there.
Hey,
Thank you. Let's give it up for our last band for everyone. Let's shake it up. Let's shake it up. Or just use an emoji and anything. Just show us your head. Thank you, everyone. So I want to quickly hear from you. What do you think of this activity? How did it feel to talk on behalf of someone else as if you are them? How was it? Feel free to either type in the chat or unmute and talk.
It was good.
Bye-bye, Marie. So we lost Marie. So yeah, I heard someone was saying it was good. Was it?
was it strange? Did anybody experience it as kind of strange?
How was the feeling to just like listen carefully? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting exercise. I haven't really done a lot about that or anything like that before.
I like that. We have in the chat. Zach says it was fun to know someone in depth. Justin says I learned a lot from my partner. Fun to know things about each other. It was cool. So I'm glad you think it's cool, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. Well, I want to know, how do you think this activity is related to nonviolence and nonviolence learning? Do you think it was related? It was just like a random icebreaker. What do you think? All answers are correct.
Okay.
I think it's related to nonviolence because you're able to just listen and just basically listen to the other person's perspective and their backgrounds and where they come from.
That was brilliant, Justin. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Ada wrote in the chat, you forget thinking about you. Justin, I learned a lot from my partner, fun to things I know about each other from Shoab. It was cool. My partner and I had similar interests from Talbot. Neela, it was fun. Fatima.
Said, yeah.
Fatima
says that it helps her relate with people. And Alex share, I think understanding one another and their perspective helps contribute to nonviolence communication. That's wonderful. I love it. So Sherry, should I pass it on to you?
Sure. So I captured, we want to be able to refer back to your expectations. So if you all would drop your partner's expectations of this course into the chat. And I'll give you like 10 or 15 seconds to do that. Then we'll go, when we're done with that, we'll go to a slide about your concerns.
Okay, Fatima says, to learn new things. Talbot, learn a lot about nonviolence.
Are you already? Okay.
Wanting to learn from other previous activists and apply them to current life, from Elisa. Thanks. Moksha says, learn new tactics and implement that in the project. Okay. Nettie, learn more about racism and nonviolent approaches.
Wonderful.
Alex, learning about nonviolence and Dr. King's mission.
Wonderful, wonderful. If anyone's still typing, please, 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 keep dropping those in the chat. Thank you. And let's go ahead, Mary Lou.
Just great. It's really great to hear what people are thinking about. So thank you for all this. And thank you for sharing your partner's thoughts too. This is great.
Yeah. So, I'm not looking at our screen. I guess I can ask Haya or Marie. Did Marie zip off to her other meeting?
Marie left, so I'll be sharing the
Yes,
screen.
Great, thanks, Haya.
You're welcome.
So, yes, the concern screen. I know that I think it was group 5 and 6, or no, group 6 maybe, and 1 of 7. But I want you all to take a look at your concerns and let me know if any are missing so we can add those. And also, do you notice any, what do you notice or what are your thoughts? Not that slide. Hi, I'm sorry. The next one. That's why I had them drop it into the chat. Great. Thank you. Yeah. So just take a look. These are your cohorts, combined concerns. There are few that are missing. So like I said, please just drop them in the chat or unmute and let me know. Yeah. Neela says some of us have the same ideas.
That's great. That's really good. We're hoping that you can connect with one another and be able to talk about those things.
Absolutely.
Several people were on climate change. There's several health issues, eating disorders, healthcare,
dental health.
Great.
Yeah, we have a dental clinic for the homeless here in Chicago. Thanks indirectly to my late first husband. So that is it was an unusual one, but having had some history, yeah, there's some people who just don't have any access to dental care. So that was interesting.
And there's decolonization. I hope we can have some more conversations about that as we get into this further.
And Shoaib, thanks. I put yours, that's interesting, on the right side. Crop over fertilization, does that capture it?
Yeah.
Thanks. And we want to talk more about that too. Oh, that's a new term for me. Can you talk about that a little bit? Eutrophication. Shoaib,
Yeah.
thanks.
That's actually my focus. I can.
That'd be great. Yeah, go ahead and tell us a little.
Thanks. I can't see you all, so please, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, over fertilize. So there are 3 main nutrients that are necessary for crops to thrive. That is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And the vast majority of fertilizers contain a certain ratio of of those nutrients. However, when too much of any of those 3 nutrients are applied to soil, plants often suffer. But another consequence of having an excess of fertilizers is that when it rains, or when the fields are watered, there's often going to be runoff into other like ponds and other bodies of water, and that will gradually kill off the ecosystem in and around those water bodies, which is obviously terrible for the environment. So
okay, thank you. Did anyone have any questions of I know the pairs were, in your pairs, you were able to talk a little bit about these. Can someone who's looking at the screen, Anisu, Mary Lou, Haya, see if anyone dropped any other concerns into the chat? Because I know I missed a couple. But also, do you have any questions of each other about the context that you find yourself in terms of challenges in your world, that in terms of things that you come in contact with that you want to work on. Okay.
I'd like to ask a little bit more about the person who put decolonization on here. I think that's a really important question. And maybe you could say a little more about like some specific thing that you see under that kind of way of thinking. Who was that? That is Anela?
Yeah, that's the topic I chose.
Uh-huh.
I kind of want to go two ways, one for the history and one for decolonizing your mind, if that makes sense.
Could you say what decolonizing, give me an example of that so that I can sort of grasp this.
Kind of like being in a mindset that is very like that white people have put upon, and kind of like detaching yourself from that.
So I completely get you. So an example that happened for me at this conference, Mary Lou, is that we had this great session by a woman who's been doing all kind of protest stuff for Greenpeace and just an unbelievable array of stuff. So she's done things from climbing a 400-foot high smokestack to hang banners and and she had us working together to strategize creative protests. And one of the things that happens is we are really focused on individualism culturally in this country. And for me, it's something I knew on a certain level, but the creativity that came from working in groups of four, no one would have ever arrived at the responses to different scenarios that the groups arrived at. So one of the takeaways for me was remember how strong we are in groups. And that's not, necessarily what this culture has prepared us to do. I don't know.
Thanks, Sherry. Thanks.
Yeah, that was great.
Anela, is there anything else you want to add about that? About decolonizing the mind?
Yeah, it's just kind of just like changing your mindset, like how white people have like pushed upon that you have to eat with like forks and utensils, but it's kind of like cultural tradition for a lot of cultures to eat with hands and like other like ways, kind of like that.
Yeah, okay. Just kind of asking a lot of questions about what we think is every day. And say it's different in different places in the world, different cultural. Yeah. That's good. Thank you. I also wanted to ask about the US government treatment of trans youth. I think that's such a huge issue that's happening right now, and I'm really glad to see somebody bring it up. And I wondered if the person who put that up there would like to say a little bit about what they see as the problem with that, with what's going on.
That's mine. So especially I'm trans youth. And so for example, the last time I checked, this probably isn't the current numbers, but there has been 556 anti-trans bills that have been introduced this year across the United States. And it just shows a massive cultural shift towards especially towards young people who are just trying to live their lives, like this extreme amount of hate. And especially there seems to be a lot of rhetoric that makes trans people out to be these monsters when they're just really people who are trying to live. And especially there's a lot of issues with access of healthcare that are really dangerous because trans youth accessing even basic healthcare or even getting their like basic respect from teachers, parents, peers can decrease the risk of suicide, and it can decrease the risk of self-harm in trans youth. So I think really giving spaces for them to be safe, and giving spaces and resources for them to find community will help decrease suicidal ideation in trans youth, but it will also increase normalization of trans youth across the country, because it is something that it's so terrifying to be trans in America right now.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Alex, for sharing that. I just want to say, for me, I think of the trans issues right now as human rights issues. It's like one group of people being singled out, and that's really a human rights violation in a massive way that we have to watch out for. We all have to watch out for, because it's a small group of people in a certain way, and when a small group of people gets picked on by a whole larger society, we're in trouble. So that could be the beginning of something much worse and bigger, as well as being bad in itself. Anyway, thank you so much, Alex, for sharing and for bringing that to our attention.
Absolutely. Okay, did anyone have any other questions? Does anybody have anything that they want to know about or add before we look at a slide that I think is hilarious? Okay, if not, we can go on to the next slide.
I wanted to point out, Ishna put an interesting one in chat, learning about involving other people's opinions without judgment.
What about Anisu? Involving?
Learning and involving other people's opinions without judgment. So I wanted to hear if Ishna could speak a bit more on that. It's like the empathy or just stepping in other people's shoes. What was the thought behind that one?
Yeah, that was interesting. Really, it's kind of a bridge building. Is that what I'm hearing, NSU? That trying to build bridges when we're living in a pretty polarized society in the United States right now. So how do we actually cross those boundaries and have conversations?
Yeah, that's a goodie. Well, that's what this whole conference was about. So I'm I'm psyched about that one. But yeah, how do we build bridges? Okay. So the next slide, a dear friend of ours compiled, but it's kind of like, whoa. But this is, we're not gonna spend a lot of time here. The main thing that we want you to get from this slide is what sustained organizing with effective tools can produce. So from Rosa Parks and the Montgomery bus boycott, Rosa Parks, Edie Nixon, there were a whole lot of people, Joanne Robinson, there are a lot of things that happened in each of these, to the sit-ins, opening lunch counters, and on to desegregating public accommodations, and also voting rights. So Albany there was a lot learned there, but not in the ways, didn't go how the movement leadership expected it, because the opposition responded differently than they expected. So all of these are lessons learned. Some people would say the movement in Albany wasn't successful, that's not possible because I was born during the Albany movement. So there was definitely that win. So
That's a great success.
thank you, Mary Lou. So yeah, so other people looking from the outside as spectators had that evaluation more than people in the movement. And so I can tell you that as Gandhi was in India, their approach was experimental. And so if you think about Edison and looking for the right filament for the light bulb, anytime you learn something about what you're doing, is it a failure? Is it a, can it be a failure? Right? So Birmingham, what does anybody know about Birmingham? Does anybody know anything about the Birmingham movement?
Did anybody look at that film that I sent you for the homework? I told you didn't have to do it ahead of time, so maybe nobody did, but the one about the Children's March was about Birmingham.
I watched it.
I watched it
I
too,
don't.
yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. So what did you learn? Just a couple things.
Yeah, just what jumped out at you? What do you remember about it? Anything, no right answer.
Abby?
I think the thing that, yeah, I think the thing that stuck out to me the most was how much of it was the youth, and how much of how much of the impact of that was because of the youth working towards it. And I think that's the thing that really stuck with me throughout the whole thing. It was just story after story of all these like high school, college age kids that really was able to get this movement to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And how they used like the radio stations to communicate and to organize through that. That was something I thought was very interesting.
I love that part too, about the favorite disc jockey of all the high school kids was the main organizer. Yeah. Abby, thank you so much. Who was the other person who said they watched it? I can't remember who it was.
Naman and then Alyssa.
Yeah.
And I just was gonna say, straighten me out if I botch up your name, please.
One of you
Alyssa has her hand up.
Alyssa? Okay.
Hi. So one thing that really stuck out to me was like, well, I've been to a lot of different schools, and when I was learning about this, like in elementary school, I was in Olympia, I think, and they didn't really tell the whole story. Like I didn't know that it was like kids doing it for the first day, and like I even saw that there was like a 4-year-old in jail. And I was like blown away. I was like, because they also didn't tell me in school that they were hosing people, like putting like, having dogs chase after them. They made it look so black and white, like, they just marched and everything got better, And so when I watched it, I felt like a lot of emotion. Like I was getting really upset because I was like, I can't believe somebody held that kind of information from me.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. That is pretty amazing. Yeah. Naman, struck you about it?
Yeah, so when I watched the 40-minute clip about the student march.
Yeah, that's it.
And I actually found it quite inspirational in the sense that these students were willing to follow MLK's example and protest as much as they could, even at the cost of getting arrested and going to jail. And I think that the faith that they had in their tactics and their ability to create change really got the attention of state and national media, along with politicians from like every level of governance in Alabama. So yeah, I thought it was really, really cool to see that and how well it was organized. So
Yeah. All
Oh,
right.
great. Thank you all. Thank you all.
Yeah,
And
so I just was gonna say two more brief things. If you look at the timeline, Chicago 1966, it should say open housing and ending slums, period. This is when Mary Lou joined the movement. Mary Lou, how old were you?
22. I was a lot younger then. But yeah, what I want to say is that was a real shift from the times in the South. That's when Dr. King came to the North, and the focus was really on poverty. So that's kind of what we meant by ending slums, all of the things that create poor, poverty-stricken, under-resourced communities, as we would now call it, as well as trying to desegregate housing in Chicago. But
yeah,
that's part of the movement. Yeah, that part of the movement is not often talked about because it really challenges the whole society to deal with the questions of why are people poor and what do we have to do to solve some of those problems.
Absolutely. And 1968, there were many other things in the works. As you all may know, this is the year that Dr. King was assassinated, American cities burned, and the common wisdom was next time we won't have a visible leader. So you'll see some of this play out in the way that Black Lives Matter organized, because progressive folks who are organizing for justice said, okay, let's organize in a way where they can't just eliminate one or a few people. Let's organize in a way that's less hierarchical. So that's one of the things, and there are things gained and lost when you organize each way, but we will get into more depth about the lessons learned from these movements. That's what we're here for. Mary Lou, should we start the 4 pillars or?
Well,
I have a question.
Sure. Question.
Regarding these issues, besides the materials that were provided in email, are there any other books or resources that you'd recommend we look at? Maybe not in for this program, but just in general to
Oh yeah, you've got lots of lists of books. Yeah, we can send you some. It's out to everybody.
Yeah,
but
I really appreciate that.
Yeah. One of my favorite ones is a book called, well, there's all of Dr. King's books. That's one starting place. That Stride Toward Freedom is his book about Montgomery.
Where do we go from here? It was kind of later.
After Chicago. Why We Can't Wait was his book about Birmingham. Those might be good starting places. And I love this book called The Montgomery Bus Boycott and the Women Who Started It, because the women who started it are kind of lost to history, except for this one amazing book. So that's one I like to look at.
Thank you.
There were lots of women in the movement who were really important. Dorothy Cotton was one, Ella Baker. We'll find out some more about some of them later on. But Dr. King was the most articulate spokesperson, and he wrote all these books. And so it kind of, the energy coalesced around him, but really there was a huge, broad number of people. As you can kind of see from that film, those of you who've watched it already, it took so many people to do this, each one doing their own part. So
yeah. So
Sherry, where are we here?
We're either going to take a break or do the 4 pillars real quickly.
I think we could do the 4 pillars in about 3 minutes, in a very few minutes. So and then we'll have a break and we'll be done with, because it kind of goes with this part.
Yeah, and we said we didn't want to spend a huge amount of time on it. This is Anisu told me he'd help me earlier. I'm just gonna have him read some parts of it. So how about Mary Lou, you frame it and Anisu can read whatever you want him to.
Okay, so next slide here. So when we think about what we call Kingian nonviolence, and it's not just about anyway, these are the 4 dimensions of it. Here they are. Quick.
I call it philosophy and a methodology in how we approach conflicts and how we're approaching organizing.
Yes. Great. And then the next slide. Why Kingian? The next slide. Anisu, read. Thank you.
Vikingian, which represents an era and an approach of non-iconizing MLK, reclaiming MLK's life from whitewashing, and then an era relied on many, Ella Baker, Bayard Rustin, and then the second one on philosophy and methodology.
Next slide.
We have a way of life and a form of strategy. And then there's the 6 principles and 6 steps of Kingian nonviolence. And then the third pillar is an approach to conflicts, which is conflict is a part of life. And then also conflict gives us a different way to think about and engage with conflict. It's a creative tool for democratic social change. And then the final one, pillar 4, is an approach to organizing, which is a fundamental shift in thinking about mobilizing and organizing its enemies into allies, public on our side. So shifting from one to the other, and then commitment to reconciliation. And then the last one is social dynamics of nonviolence.
Last one. I just want to point out on this one, the enemies into allies. As Dr. King would say, I don't have any enemies. I only have people who are not yet friends. And the whole idea is to win everybody over. And the belief that even people could be won over. So you approach people in a different way, even if they're opposing you, if you think you're going to win them over.
All right. Yeah, so just a nice little overview there. Thank you both. So let's break now. And I know that it's been 45 after the hour for a while now. So can we all be back at 5 after? 5 after the hour. Refresh yourselves, stretch, stick your head out the door or window. All righty. But
We're coming back at 5 after the hour.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. See you then. To finish the statement, violence is blank, 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 blank. 4 words. How many words? So violence is, thank you. 4, and then a 4-word definition that your group more or less agrees on. Are there any questions? Okay. You'll have 10 or 20 minutes to work in your groups. How long should we start with as a working model? And we can stretch it past that if you all need more time. So what do we want to say?
Maybe 12 minutes to start.
Sounds good.
How people are doing at the end of 12 minutes. Okay.
Okay. So here, these are Haya, probably read the names of the people in each group. When you click this link, it'll take you to a slide. In the upper right-hand corner, you can put your group members' first names, and then you have 2 lists and someone can type in.
So that each group can type on their own slide. Is that how it works?
Yes.
Okay, so you'll need a recorder as well as like a kind of facilitator.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
you're assigned to groups. Haya is going to read you your group number. Group 1 consists of.
So what I'll do, I'll just rename the rooms, and when they enter the room, they can have the names of group 1, group
Okay.
2. How does
Yep.
that sound?
Wonderful. So as you're entering your group, pay attention to what your room number is, so then you can just click on your slide.
I'm just renaming the groups and we'll be ready to join.
Yeah, it's Fatima. Yes, you're assigned to groups. That's coming.
So we'll have 5 groups. We have 5 slides, right?
Yes. So just scroll backward in the chat and you'll see what group you're in as you go into your group. Take note of what room number you're going into.
Okay, so all breakout rooms are ready. Do you want me to say the names or we should just send them in and when they...
No, I think everybody heard that they should see, as they're going into their group, pay attention to the number and then click on the slide.
But the links will disappear, I believe, when they go in the breakout rooms, right?
In terms of the chat, will they be able to see the chat?
You know what? I just send them and I can just log into each group and give them the link. We're good. Okay. So you want it for 10 minutes, right?
12.
12. Okay, so you have 12 minutes, 5 groups, and you have 30 minutes countdown when the rooms are closed, okay? Everyone is ready? You can start the discussion until I just join the group and give you the links. I'll send you now. Bye-bye. I believe someone left or something.
Somebody just came back. That's what I saw.
Let me reassign them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Abby's in there.
Okay, sorry, reassigned. So we're all good.
I'll go to the last 2. I'll start at group 5 and group 4.
Okay, so I'll do 1 and 2.
Okay.
Anissa, could you do 3?
We've got a few
They throw
people.
me in it. Yeah. Electricity in this place just went out, but I can join in on audio, so I might not be able to use my camera. But yeah, if you could throw me in group, was it 3 and 4?
No, you're good. We just wanted to give the slides. I'll do it. No worries.
Okay, thank you.
I did group 5, going into 4. So Anissa went into group 3. I think that's the brilliant idea I heard Haya expressing. How are you doing, Mary Lou?
Okay. Just trying to keep track of it all. I think we need to explain the handshaking, the shake it up, the King Ian thing, because there was happening, but we never said anything about it. So
I think it's part of the experience that they just figure out. Okay, go to.
So I think it's going pretty well. Oh, she's going to group 2 now.
okay. Yeah, I think so. This one doesn't have, I'm glad we have this time for them to be together because we haven't had a lot of breakout time. So this is good.
Yeah, group 5 is typing stuff.
Okay.
I need to see who's in there so I can put their names up on their slide too. Breakouts. Group 5, Neela, Talbot, and Sienna.
They're really shy about opening their cameras.
Yeah, they really.
I'm trying to encourage them when I'm in the room. So I'll go to group 3.
I just helped somebody, one group put their names on there. Okay, good. Group 3's figured that out. Group 2's figured it out. Group 1. Group 4, not yet. It's group 4. Ooh, lordy, lordy, lordy. I'll get them to do it.
Sherry, you handled room 4 and 5, right?
Yeah, they haven't put their names up there though. So maybe they, let me see. I'll be right back.
Some of the rooms don't have anyone with camera on, and one of the room was just only one with camera.
Would they turn them on?
I told them like there's no recording. It's recording right now. Wait.
Me, Justin, Arush, and I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
And Alyssa.
Should we put their slides up? Yeah, and then they'll be, there we go. Wonderful. All right.
Hey.
Do you want us to read them off?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Does anyone else want to do that, or should I?
I could do non-physical. You could do physical.
Okay, sounds good. I guess I'll start. Our list of physical violence we came up with, it is sexual abuse, police brutality, child abuse, gun violence, domestic violence, hate crimes, gang violence, and assault.
And for non-physical, we have verbal abuse, psychological abuse, cyberbullying, violent architecture, stalking, hate crime, and threats.
What is violent architecture? That's interesting.
Violent architecture is a phenomenon where mainly public spaces, it is to create a more hostile environment for homeless people, such as in park benches, putting dividers between the seats so someone couldn't lay on it. Or some places have like spikes. I know that in front of the Olympia Library, there are these small metal waves on a small ledge that's close to the ground, so no one can lay down there. And it's called, there's several different names for it, but the most common one that I've seen is violent architecture.
Thank you.
I can give an example of some historically violent architecture. So I remember being in a building in Cape Town, so where you have buildings where the idea of holding human captives is part of the design of the building.
Thank you. Thank you. And the forward definition from this group?
The 4 words we came up with are harsh, harmful, aggressive, and desperate.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
That's great. That's really great. Thanks.
Thank you. Group 2.
Yeah, me, Ivy, Ishna, and Anuva all came up with fighting, physical abuse, brutality, fire/burning, shoving and threatening use of weapons for physical, verbal abuse, discrimination, harassment, emotional abuse, and isolation for non-physical. And our 4-word definition was destructive abuse of power.
Thank you all. That's really fascinating. That's great.
Violence is destructive abuse of power. Thank you. That's good.
Yeah, I like that you added fire and burning to this. We don't always talk about that, but thank you.
Group 3.
So physical violence is harming someone using physical force and using objects to hurt someone. And then non-physical is verbal abuse, and then threatening and altercation. And then our forward definition is violence is behavior intended to hurt someone.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much. Haya says those are some really interesting concepts. Yeah. Group 4.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. So we said so physical violence is typically injury causing altercations, destruction of property, torture, medical negligence, and other things along those lines. Non-physical violence is like it's verbal abuse, manipulation, gaslighting, trauma, and isolation, where you seek to mentally break down an individual. And our forward definition is violence is harmful actions or words.
Very good. On the destruction of property, that's interesting that you put that one there, because it's contested. So I'd say probably everybody would agree if you destroyed a subsistence farmer's tools, whatever tools they had would be violence. However, it's argued, I've never like blown up anything, but it's argued whether or not destruction of property is, people argue about that. That's the most I need to say about it. So
some people think it really is violence, and other people would say not, right? I mean, yeah. So it's not agreed upon.
Yes, it's an interesting discussion that we may or may not get into later.
And I like what you've got here, the non-physical, some things about gaslighting. That's really interesting. And trauma and isolation, those are a real addition. So it's interesting to me that people have come up with different ways of thinking about these things, and adding them all together gives us a much wider and broader definition. So thank you.
Absolutely. Group 5.
I can present part of this. Our group said that physical violence is like obviously like attacking another person, like abuse, interacting with another person's body in an unwanted way, which would be like sexual abuse, destruction of property, obviously, and then like using a weapon to harm others.
Then for non-physical, we have like verbal harassment, manipulation, stalking, threats, or some kind of intimidation, cyberbullying, name calling, or like bullying in general, shaming, and discrimination. And then our forward definition was like violence is a hurtful force or power.
Thank you. These are all really, really good, and they all work within a definition that we use in Kingian nonviolence, which is, I think it's on the next slide, but violence is, we don't have that slide. It doesn't matter. It's 4 words. Violence is physical or emotional harm. Oh, I know. There's a text box in the middle, Haya, that you can just move out of the way. No, on that blank one. Click in the middle. There, move that. That's where it is. Violence is physical or emotional harm. So one of our colleagues likes to do like razzle dazzle things with the slides. So.
But thank you all for listing all of those variety of ways.
And all of your definitions that your groups came up with are in concert with this. But why do you think we asked you to write down definitions of violence that aren't physical?
Can we hear from somebody or see a hand up?
Yep, Alex.
Non-physical violence breaks down the psyche of people, and often, especially if this is coming from a position of power to people who are trying to take their power back, it often breaks down their will to continue doing so, and it has just as big an effect as physical violence does.
Certainly you can, for sure. Thank you. Did anyone else want to say anything about that? But that was
I think because it has, at the end of the day, just as much as an impact as physical violence does. And sometimes it's harder to see acts of non-physical violence than it is acts of physical violence.
that's a good point. Good, really good point. Thanks, both of you. And why do you think we asked you to define violence in 4 words or less? Four words or less. What were we getting at? How might that be useful as opposed to 50 words?
For me, I feel like violence has such like it has like many definitions. It has such a broad range of, ways to describe it. So having 4 words can really highlight the main gist of how people see what violence are.
Absolutely, Justin, thanks. Yeah, getting at the core of the message. Supposing that you're organizing, how might that be? Talk about that in a context of trying to reach your friends or neighbors or relatives. How could that be helpful and or important?
Wrote in the chat there to make it easy to understand.
Yes, make it easy to understand, easy to remember, especially if you want people to continue to transmit the same message. Just think about how powerful the message Black Lives Matter is. Could a 50-word, you could talk for 50 words and there might be context where it makes sense to, but in terms of getting your message across, getting people to think about it, which is more effective in terms of an idea traveling faster. So you got to consider the context. You don't want to overcomplicate. Some things use a lot of words that are complicated. In some contexts, you lose power in terms of being able to galvanize people around an idea. Go ahead, Mary Lou.
I just really think it's important that we include emotional harm here, which you guys had lots of examples of, so that was really great. But people don't always think about that as violence, and I think that's really important that we both have a name for the whole thing and that we see all the ways that that can manifest itself.
Right. Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Haya is going to talk to us about conflict. That's what we had planned next.
Yeah, I was like, I was relocating myself.
You're not as clear as you were before, Haya.
Can you hear me clearly? Wait, because I think my mic has dropped. Can you hear me right now?
That's great.
Okay, sorry about that. Locating. So we reached this part where, do you remember in the 4 pillars when we say we'll be discussing approaches to conflict? So it's very, very, very essential that we understand what conflict is and how we define it in Kenyan nonviolence. But before we go there, I want to hear from you. What when you first hear conflict, what comes to your mind? You just like, someone says, oh, I faced a conflict. What comes to your mind? Yeah, Alicia, feel free just to unmute and talk because I cannot see your hands up.
I would say like a disagreement.
A disagreement, yeah.
An issue.
An issue. Interesting. Nella says against. Yeah, what comes to your mind? Anything. Positive, negative, neutral, whatever comes to your mind.
Arguments.
Argument. Interesting, yeah. Disagreement. Argument.
Wars.
Wars, yeah.
I missed one in there that somebody said. I didn't get it in the chat. Scary.
Scary,
Alex-
yeah. So have you, sorry.
Alex
Sherry.
said anger. I just in the chat.
Anger. I want you to follow the connotation of the words we're sharing. I want you to observe. So have you ever experienced conflict in your life? And what kind of conflict? Is it day-to-day life, conflict, is it school issues?
Violent, one person adds. But what are experiences of conflict? Okay. All those long lists, I bet they came from some observations.
Exactly. Sometimes we face conflict in the household, in our workplace, schools, everywhere. Actually, it's everywhere we face conflict.
Maybe
But how
think
do
about
you? Yeah, sorry, Marilu, go ahead.
just where you've seen conflict, maybe not experienced it, but where you've seen it.
I'd like you to unmute and share, or either write in the chat.
It's
Again,
everywhere,
there's,
all around the world.
yeah, can you give me just a context?
The most recent one, I guess, that I remember is the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. There's one between, I don't know, I think America and China and Russia too, or something. Yeah.
Interesting.
There's always,
Thank you.
it's not always like about countries. There's like everyday conflicts as well. Like if you go to the store, and then something happens and you get in an argument with someone, that's like a conflict. So it's basically like an argument.
That's a very, very interesting take, Fatima, I believe, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing, Fatima. So how do we see conflict in the Kenyan nonviolence framework? Is that we see that it's natural, it's something that happens, it's something that is okay to happen, that's something we want to happen so we can resolve things. And it's completely natural to have it in everyday life. It could be political, it could be just between our family members, it could be anywhere. It's also inevitable. It's not like I close my eyes, I don't see it, it's gone. No, it's there, and we need to address it, and we need to know how to deal with it in order for it to be resolved. But if we act like it's not there, it's not going to work. And lastly, we need to acknowledge that conflict has history. Almost every conflict has history. And once we understand the history behind the conflict, it will help us know how to address it and how to deal with it in the future and the present. So I need you to keep it in mind, those 3 points, whenever we're dealing with conflict or we're addressing a conflict. And further in this training, you'll be learning further about the types and levels of conflicts and how we can deal with them. Do you have any question or anything you'd like to share about conflict? Wait.
For me, the big insight here is the conflict is natural. Sometimes we suppress it, like if you're in a disagreement with somebody and you don't want to make a big fuss about it, but the conflict is there. And so how do we work with those kind of conflicts? There's a kind of creative ways to work with them that can move things. And we even find in everyday life that conflict has history. You know, somebody gets really mad at you, but, you know, maybe it's not the first time this, whatever they got mad about has happened, or maybe it's not the first time it's happened to them, maybe in some other context. They got, somebody treated them in a way that they didn't like, and now it's coming out. So that's, as we try to understand conflicts, these are things we want to figure out about them. What's the history? And well,
Can
as
I,
what we do about it.
can I share something about conflict having history?
Yeah.
In one of the trainings, the participants shared is that when she's walking the street and she says she sees a stranger, let's say male, approaching her, she feels uncomfortable and try to change her path. So in her head, she had a previous experience that had history to that, while the man was walking and was like, why is she running? Why is she uncomfortable for my presence? He was not aware that this to her has history. But once he has the knowledge that she had previous experiences with it would help him understand the context and the situation.
Thank you. Thanks, Haya. That was helpful to me as an example.
I also want to give space for Abby. I seem that she had unmuted if you still had that thought you wanted to share.
Good, thank you. Okay, yeah.
Huh?
Abby,
Yeah,
yeah.
Coincidentally, I had to mute again because my siblings were having a conflict. I totally forgot what I was going to say. Sorry.
It's okay. Okay, should we have Mary Lou talk to us about the social dynamics, give us a brief introduction, and then we'll take a short break and come back, and I'll introduce you to someone.
Okay, so what we need now is for you to find a piece of paper and something to write with, or maybe you write on your computer, that's all right. But we're going to ask you to do a little bit of journaling. And I'm going to give you some things to think about, and then I want you to think about them in the context of the program, the project that you're thinking about working on. And if you're not quite sure what your project is, pick some version of it and work with that. Okay, so do we need a minute for people to find a pencil and paper or a journal or something to write with?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just take a minute here to go find a paper and pen. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. If you're still needing to find your paper and pen, just try to listen while I'm talking about it. So the first one of these, we're going to talk about a little bit later in the training, is what we talk about as aggression and conciliation. And when we want to think about how do we approach a problem, how do we approach our organizing effort, whether it's getting a new project happening in your school, whether it's taking on some issue in the larger community, there's two questions. What are the people in your issue? And what are the conditions and the practices? So think about who are the people that you would want to work with, or who are the people that might be creating the problem that you want to solve? And what is the problem? Think of it that way. What are the people that are creating the problem, and what is the problem itself? What are the conditions or the practices or the policies? So we're going to just take a couple of minutes for you to think about, in the project that you're concerned about, who are the people who you might have to try to convince, and what is the actual problem? So I'd like you to have a couple of minutes to write that down. Okay, I hope that's enough time. Let's try to finish that up. I mean, this is like the beginning exercise, so, but you may think of more of it later, but at least you get the idea of what we're trying to do here. Okay. So the next question, question 2 that we're going to work on, comes out of an exercise that we call top down, bottom up. And that is when you're trying to mobilize people around an issue in the community, you want to think about who are the grassroots people that you want. All right, here we've got some clues here.
Sorry, Mary Lou, I'm still around. Do you want this slide or the next one?
Yeah, let's look at the top down, bottom up slide.
This one?
Yeah, this is good. Okay.
Sorry for not informing you. I'm still around.
That's okay. All right. So we want to look at look down here with those yellow boxes at the bottom. Who are the people who are affected by this problem? Who are the people who are affected by it? And who are some of their immediate allies, their friends and neighbors who might be able to help them out? So that's one list to make. And the other one is what we've got over here: political, education, religious. Who are some people in the community who have some power or some clout of some kind, who might be able to affect this process, who you could recruit as allies, basically. So we start with the grassroots people, the ordinary people like us, which is what we call bottom up. And then who are the people who have some power or prestige in the community that might be allies? So you're going to make 2 lists here. And we'll take a couple minutes to do that. Okay. Okay, let's move on to the next one. The third one is part of this social dynamics of nonviolence. It's leadership development, and that means developing both yourself and developing the people that are with you. So think about what kind of things that you might need for leadership development. What would you like to learn in order to be a stronger leader? Or what is the kind of thing, the people you might, friends that you might recruit to your project, what would they need to learn? So none of us are really leaders necessarily to start with, but part of the idea is that we learn to be leaders in this process. So let's take a couple of minutes to write down a couple of things that you think might be helpful to help develop your own leadership skills, or develop some of the people that you would recruit to work with you. Thank you, Haya, for putting this out there for us. Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to skip to the next slide?
I don't. I think that's all we need for this one. I'm not sure what's on.
Do you want me to stop sharing?
And what?
Do you want me to stop sharing?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not going to take a long time to share back with everybody right now, because this is kind of for you as you start thinking about your project. But I'd love to hear a little bit about what you came up with. Did you come up with some lists? Anybody come up with a list of something that might be useful? Shoaib says, be confident and speak clear. Yeah, you want to say a little more? Shoaib, that was great. I think that's about, it sounds like leadership development.
Yeah,
Okay.
because like as leaders, you have to be like confident and you have to speak clear for everybody to understand and like not make people fall behind. And you got to be like dominant because like, you know, you're trying to be a leader.
All right. That's really helpful. Thank you. Thank you. What else did people think of to write down here? Either, okay?
Yeah, I would want to help people develop their conflict resolution skills. I work with children like in my day-to-day life, so I have had to develop those a lot. So I think giving other people the chance to develop those skills is a really productive way to create change.
Thank you. That is really great. That's really important. Very important. In any group, there's always conflicts. And that's, you know, the idea with the groups is people bring different ideas and we try to fit them, make them work together. So you were always kind of negotiating. Anybody else have some ideas to share about what you could think of in terms of your project? Justin, you look like you've got something on your mind.
Nothing too specific. What I wrote down for how to, the top down, bottom up thing was maybe I organized it wrong, but top down, it's like community, nonprofits, community leaders, potentially local businesses and stuff like that. And for bottom up, I had like community members and elders.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. That's great. That's great. Thank you. That's creative thinking on this part. Okay, maybe there's one more person might share something they wrote down.
I can go. So
Okay.
I'm still not super sure about my topic. I'm still brainstorming. I wrote food system, and the people who are like affected by the system would be like schools or restaurants or like in general, like all of us, because you know, like all of us get food, you know, we consume food.
About who's affected. Okay. Yeah. And when you think of that, what do you think of as the problem with food systems?
If like to be specific, we can like, you know, look at the schools, like how they provide food, like how they're like unhealthy or like they cook it well, like this.
Okay. That's good. That's good. Okay. And thank you. Thank you very much. That's really helpful. And Neela has written, it's okay to face conflict because it's human nature. And as a leader, you'll face so many of them. How true, Neela. How true. Yes. How to work with pulling things together when there are differences is an important part of a leader. Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope that this exercise has given you a little way to begin thinking about your project and grounds you in your project as we go into some of the other teachings around these issues further on in the training. So I thank you very much. We did well with this. Thank you. Sherry, I'm back to you.
Okay, we have a 5-minute break scheduled on the. Alrighty, so take a stretch. We're coming down the home stretch. I said I was going to introduce you to someone. I'm going to introduce her to you via 2 really short film clips, really short meaning under 3 minutes when we get back. I hope you find her as interesting as I do. See you at 3:05 or whatever 05, depending on where you are.
Okay.
We'll be back at 5 after. I
Yeah.
know someone just joined.
Hello, Abby. I can see you're back. Hello, hello. Um,
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for asking about the books.
Oh yeah.
I will, we can talk too, but if you have particular interests, but I'll send you,
Yeah, thank you.
I'll send you a list. Yeah.
Yeah, so on the first break, my mom used to be a history professor at community colleges.
Uh-huh.
And when I was talking to her about the books, and she gave me one of the books she has. She's like, oh, here's one.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, good. That's a start.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are some recent biographies of the women who were active in the civil rights movement, which is really nice because for a long time it was hard to get information about the women.
Yeah.
And even Coretta Scott King, who did amazing amounts of work after, both before and after when she was with Dr. King. So
Yeah. But thank you for sending us the links beforehand so we could go over some of it.
Okay.
I really appreciate that.
I'd be happy to talk about it. I was taking for my Antioch students for a long time on tours of the civil rights movement in the South for about 10 years. We were able to go. So I taught classes. We go on the tour and then come back and read about the places, the stories from the places where we had been. So it was wonderful, but I learned a lot. And during the time of teaching all of that, I had to dig into a lot of new stories. So
it looks like everyone might be back. So let's get started.
Says she's just finishing a cup of tea. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Hey, Haya. So we're talking next about nonviolence.
Now we're beginning to get to the core of it here. So
Which slides do you want me to share?
This one? Yes.
That's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Let's just take a look at these two words. I don't think we need to take time in small groups to discuss this. What do you notice about these two words? Let's just talk a little bit.
We need to see people's hands up or just speak out. And it's lovely to have your video on so we can see your face if you can do that. Some people's technology doesn't provide that, but
yeah,
we would love to see you, even if it's late in the day and you're feeling ragged like the rest of us.
Home stretch. Naaman. How do you say your name, please? I'm sorry.
It's Naman.
Naman.
Yeah. So the difference between these two words is, well, I'm assuming that they mean the same thing. It's more of just like how you write it. I'm pretty sure that they mean the same thing. So
yeah, so they can't. So this word, I don't know, it's, you know how sometimes things develop organically and that doesn't mean that they're necessarily the easiest to understand. So what we're trying to do is get at what Dr. King and the strategic organizers we're looking at. And so we're trying to get like a Kingian understanding of nonviolence. But yes, these words have been used interchangeably. The civil rights movement folks started using the second one a little bit differently. Because what do we mean? What does a hyphen usually mean? And what does that prefix usually mean? Right? One has a hyphen, one doesn't. But what is the top one emphasizing?
Ivy, you got an idea about this? I see you there.
I guess you can say that it emphasizes the no violence part, like none.
Yes, yes, exactly. Taking something away, taking away the violence, the absence of violence. So we actually call that and associate the concept of negative peace with non-violence. Like, and so as an example, in a war zone, the people might quit fighting, but does that mean that there's real peace? Does that necessarily, like, is a ceasefire peace necessarily? Right. So the second one is used in Kingian nonviolence to denote a body of knowledge, a body of practices that address violence in a particular way. It represents, the second one represents a history going back to Gandhi and Tolstoy and, you know, through the peace churches and many, many other sources. Does this make sense? So we would call the second one positive peace, where you're not just talking about the absence of violence, you're talking about the presence of peace with the second one. And it should become clearer as we go on.
But I would just say there's a lot of misunderstanding about what nonviolence has meant. Sometimes people, I want to thank you, Ivy, for getting us started with this. You were really right about that. And that that sometimes people have thought, well, if I'm not hitting somebody, I'm not being violent. I'm nonviolent. Well, yeah, sort of, but there's more to the story than that. And that's what Sherry's trying to get us to go.
Right. So the nonviolence, the bottom one, is the presence of peace, a state of positive peace. It's active people demonstrating kindness and respect. Nonviolence is constructive. So, you know, if you get a snake bite, you don't just take an aspirin to make the pain go away. You must take an antidote or cure to counteract the poison. Nonviolence, one word, the bottom one, is like an antidote to violence.
And as Sherry was saying at the beginning, this is the way that we use these words differently in this tradition. In the books, they're not always, that's a distinction that's not always made. The person who said it at the very
right, it's clear it's not a distinction that Dr. King made. So there's been more writing on positive peace and negative peace in decades since the 1960s. But this will help us understand conceptually what Dr. King meant by nonviolence. He didn't just mean, and we're going to hear from him too a little bit. So let's go on to the next slide. Next slide.
The slides are stuck. Wait, just give me a minute.
I hope
the one with the circle.
Yes, that was fine.
Okay.
That was fine. That was fine. And actually we can hear from Dr. King here. This is a good point.
This one. Yes.
So this is quite an unruly scene. So I'm going to read a really short sermon that Dr. King gave. He delivered this sermon from Dexter Church's pulpit the day before his trial for violating Alabama's anti-boycott law. He begins by recounting that after authoring Lucy's expulsion from the University of Alabama, many celebrated the relative quiet that followed days of rioting at the university. This is what you're looking at.
Who was authoring Lucy? Why were they rioting?
Well, we will come to that. She was a student. a student at the University of Alabama, but it becomes clear who Autherine Lucy is. She was the first Black student at the University of Alabama. King condemns this calm as the type of peace that stinks in the nostrils of the Almighty God. He recounts a conversation with someone who suggested the bus boycott was destroying race relations and peace in the community. And he responds, yes, it is true that if the Negro accepts his place, accepts exploitation and injustice, there will be peace, but it would be an obnoxious peace. So that's kind of an introduction to the speech. But what he said was, a few weeks ago, a federal judge handed down an edict which stated in substance that the University of Alabama could no longer deny admissions to persons because of their race. With the handing down of this decision, a brave young lady by the name of Autherine Lucy was accepted as the first Negro student to be admitted in the history of the University of Alabama. This was a great moment and a great decision. But with the announcement of this decision, the vanguards of the old order began to emerge. The forces of evil began to congeal. As soon as Autherine Lucy walked on the campus, a group of spoiled students led by Leonard Wilson and a vicious group of criminals began threatening her on every hand. Crosses were burned, eggs and bricks were thrown at her. The mob even jumped on top of the car in which she was riding. Finally, the president and trustees of the University of Alabama asked Autherine to leave for her own safety and the safety of the university. The next day, after Autherine was dismissed, the paper came out with this headline, quote, "Things are quiet in Tuscaloosa today. There is peace on the campus of the University of Alabama." Yes, things were quiet in Tuscaloosa. Yes, there was peace on the campus, but it was a peace at a great price. It was a peace that had been purchased at the exorbitant price of an inept trustee board succumbing to the whims and caprices of a vicious mob. It was peace that had been purchased at the price of allowing mobocracy to reign supreme over democracy. It was a peace that had been purchased at the price of capitulating to the forces of darkness. This is the type of peace that all men of goodwill hate. It is the type of peace that is obnoxious. It is the type of peace that stinks in the nostrils of the Almighty God. So I think I will stop there. Wait, I'll skip down and read you all this part. He said, if peace means this, I don't want peace. If peace means accepting second-class citizenship, I don't want it. If peace means keeping my mouth shut in the midst of injustice and evil, I don't want it. If peace means being complacently adjusted to a deadening status quo, I don't want peace. If peace means a willingness to be exploited economically, dominated politically, humiliated and segregated, I don't want peace. In a passive, non-violent manner, we must revolt against this peace. Jesus says in substance, I will not be content until justice, goodwill, brotherhood, love, yes, the kingdom of God are established upon the earth. This is real peace. Peace is the presence of positive good. My goodness. So there are a number of reasons. So we're talking about negative peace and positive peace. One of the reasons I so love that little short passage, and I read you all most of it, is because that's a king that you don't often hear echoed in the public. Who was that earlier talking about the Birmingham movement? Was like, well, you know, people marched and things got better. Who said that earlier? Talking about
what they learned in school beforehand.
Yeah, that they hid information.
Yes, yes. So this is a king that you don't often hear, like, you know, pulled up talking about anything really, but Anyway, thoughts, questions? We can go to the next slide.
So, yeah. So could we just have a little bit, I want to be sure that people are clear about the negative piece and positive piece here. Can we go back one slide here? So given what Dr. King said, what was he describing? How was he describing a negative piece?
I think
Abby?
he was describing a negative piece as a complacent piece, a piece where it is peaceful, but at the expense of someone else.
Well said.
That's great. And then what would a positive piece be? Do you want to try that one, Abby?
Yeah, a positive piece would be hold on. Positive piece would be it'd be peaceful, but not at the expense of anyone.
Terrific. So what I want to do is Haya, can you find the slide that has Autherine Lucy's picture on it? I dropped a couple clips on there too. So this is the person that was so theoretically offensive. If you click that first link, I always like to hear from people themselves. You can go there. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. If you you can also.
I don't think it's working. It's not letting me.
Okay, let me see if I share screen.
Is it shared with the notes? Do you want to share screen?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
If I share screen, we can play it from here. Okay. Share screen. Here we go. Share. Okay. Great.
And the white resistance could also be violent. In February 1956, a Black woman named Autherine Lucy was quietly admitted to the all-white University of Alabama. But the night after she arrived, students and townspeople began a riot. The university suspended Lucy temporarily, it said, for her own protection. And Autherine Lucy sued, claiming that mob rule was being allowed to overturn the law.
What's brought about these actions, I feel, is that lawless elements outside the campus set themselves over and above the law. Their actions brought great discredit to our nation.
The charge has been made by some fairly moderate people, gradualists, you might call them, that the NAACP, with General Counsel UR, is moving too far, too fast. And following the decision of the Supreme Court, you would have been well advised to let things move along gradually for a while, but you can't overthrow the prejudices of 300 years overnight.
You can, but maybe you can't override prejudice overnight. But the Emancipation Proclamation was issued in 1863, 90 odd years ago. I believe in gradualism. I also believe that 90 odd years is pretty gradual.
Autherine Lucy won her case, but the Board of Trustees expelled her anyway for saying the university had used the riots to keep her out. Across the South, the Lucy case gave resisting whites hope. If they were willing to use violence to fight the law, it seemed they could keep Black children in Black schools. And the white.
So that was Ms. Autherine Lucy. And the gentleman sitting next to her that said 93 years seems gradual was the late, great Thurgood Marshall, who was the first Black Supreme Court Justice in the United States. Okay.
Thank you for showing that, Sherry. I love seeing her really present like that.
Yes, and then the other clip, which I'll just switch to it now because it's easier. I think this speaks to positive peace a little bit. I picked the shortest one. If they don't set it up well, I'll stop it and say a couple things.
One for being here today as we honor UA pioneer, Dr. Autherine Lucy Foster. All of us must continue to follow your example of compassion, courage, grace, strength, and love in challenges for progress to the future. It is with great pleasure that today we dedicate Autherine Lucy Foster, which houses our College of Education, in honor of the master teacher, Dr. Autherine Lucy Foster.
Wow.
Your brave response to fear sent shockwaves through this nation, through generations before and after. How fitting is it that the building that houses our School of Education, the building that once held you in the darkest hour of our university, face the rising sun, bearing your name as a monument to freedom and education now, education tomorrow, and education forever.
My heart is so heavy and yet so light. I am a master teacher, but I hope I'm teaching you that love will take care of everything in our world, don't you think? It's not your color. It's not how bright you are. It's how you feel about those that you deal with. And if I'm a master teacher, I hope that's all I teach. Thank you so much.
Now, that was a treat for me. This I actually was intending to show you a 2-minute clip. You can just Google and find other clips if you want to, but I'm not going to bother because this kind of makes the point. But the other one was of her. It was before they dedicated this hall to her, but she was talking for 2 minutes. And she said something like, the last time I was on this campus and everybody laughed, you know, and it showed a mixed crowd. But anyway, I think that does a good job of illustrating transformation from negative peace to positive peace.
Sounds like it took a few decades. She looks a little older in the last one than the first one, Sherry.
Yep. But anyway.
But thank you for sharing those. That was wonderful.
Sure. If anybody has questions or we can talk about that for a couple minutes. Otherwise, you know, can we, I think stop. Oh, let me stop sharing my screen. Okay. So what did you all think?
Just
Did you
have
all
a quick
know this
response
story already? Yep.
to that. How did that seem to you?
Can you imagine being put out of school for your own safety and the safety of the university?
Who else would like to speak a word about all this? Sienna, are you there? Haven't heard from you much today. How did that strike you? Well, maybe Sienna is not there. Oh, my mic isn't working, she says. Okay, I'm sorry. How about Ishna? How did that strike you?
You all have to talk. I'm all choked up.
All right.
No, I just want to say that, um, you know, I'm not, let me see what year this was. This would have been, so that's 56. So Autherine Lucy was readmitted to school a few years before I was born, but I still grew up. I remember there was an African doctor visiting the US, and my mother used to help facilitate and house people who were coming here to raise money and raise awareness about the African independence movements. You know, whoever said decolonization, Kenya was a colony when I was born. The first African nation to win independence was Ghana in 1957. So this stuff is closer to me. I can remember this African doctor being with my family in a restaurant in a suburb about 25 minutes south of here. I'm in Chicago. And I was in 7th or 8th grade, and somebody was sitting at the bar when we went into what was the nicest restaurant in that suburb. And someone yells out, "I didn't know they served," insert N word here, in here. So this was, part of my experience as a child. And so to me, what she said was really meaningful. To be able to face that kind of discrimination with love is awesome in terms of what it says about human character, when people care about developing their own character, but it also speaks to what's possible in terms of changing your world when you treat your opponents as opponents, not enemies. So I'm done.
Thank you, Sherry. I just want to hear from anybody else who had some comment about all of that. Talbot, you're here. How did it strike you, those stories?
Yeah, sure, I can talk about it. I just thought it was really interesting that, like, Thurgood Marshall, someone who I've seen a lot in like my classes, right? Just like seeing him like actually out like in the world, like during the process, because a lot of the time you see him as like kind of this older, more distinguished, like Supreme Court justice, but obviously he was like a young lawyer at some point. So that was something I really thought was interesting during all that.
Yeah, good,
Thank
good. Thank you. Yeah, and his story is such an interesting one. You might want to look into like his applications to law school. Look up that story. But
yeah, for sure.
Anybody else? Arush, do you want to comment on this? How was this for you? What did you get out of watching all of that?
I was just shocked that she left after she left her school, the college that, because after everything was done, she could have just stayed.
Yeah, well, they expelled her for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she could have came back, right? Because like they expelled her for her own safety.
That's what they said. Right?
Yeah.
But what they were doing was capitulating to the racism, the parts of the community that were so racist that they started burning stuff up and jumping on the car that she was in. So they didn't necessarily expel students who went along with that. So this brings up a good question. How might, if you were the university president, how would you have dealt with violence on and near the campus? What are some alternatives to putting out a perfectly peaceful student who deserves to be there? What might you have done?
I don't, to go back, I don't quite know how to answer this question, but the prior one, the part of the video that got me was after all of that, it was unclear to me if they expelled her twice, but it's the last time they said they expelled her for speaking out against the college and saying that the college, bent to the will of like the angry writers. And that was the part that really got to me. Like after all that, and they did it because they expelled her at the end because she made the university look bad. That was the part that, I don't know, that really got to me.
Yeah, so you're right. They did expel her twice. The courts said, hey, she should be allowed to return, and that's what the next excuse was. The next so-called reason was.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Abby.
Yeah. And I think what I hear from that too is, if it's like when they said, well, they expelled her for her own good. Well, we as activists need to challenge those kind of answers, yeah, that might be what they said, and there is a certain truth to it in the sense that she was somewhat vulnerable in that situation. But what else could they have done differently?
I feel like they could have tried to protect her instead of saying that the university needs to be protected because she wasn't doing anything. They didn't take care of any problem.
They didn't take care of any problem by expelling her. Is that what you're saying, Elisa?
Yeah, because the problem was the people that were being violent that attended their school, but instead of worrying about the violence, they were prejudiced and they blamed that. They were like, oh, you're the problem, we need to protect our university and you, which is pretty rude.
Thanks, Alyssa.
Yeah, rude is kind of an understatement, but I appreciate your saying it, putting it that way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think the university should have put effort towards condemning the students who were like violently protesting her just attending the college legally. Like that was really, like, I think if they had been the ones condemned and if they have been the ones asked to leave the university and the institution, it would have had a very different outcome.
Yep, university presidents have a bully pulpit, as they would say. They have the ear of lots of people, be statesman-like and, lead, define what's happening for the community and take a stand. That's definitely something that the university administration could have done.
Yeah, thanks for that, Alex. Yeah, so we're thinking through these situations. I think we need to move on, Sherry. We are getting into our last minutes here in the day, and we have a few more things to do. So,
yep,
but
thank you
all for your comments on this.
Yes.
I will find this terribly memorable. I have never seen those videos before, Sherry. So thank you for finding them, and
you're welcome.
Forget this.
All right. Mary Lou, we said we were going to talk about homework and next steps.
Yes. Okay. So, all right. We have two assignments for homework for tomorrow. And one of them is reading The Pilgrimage to Nonviolence, which I sent you already. I will send it again tonight after we're finished so you can find it. It's Martin Luther King's piece on how he came to nonviolence himself. And this piece is a little hard to read for people who don't have a philosophy background, because he really liked philosophy and he talks about a lot of the philosophers that affected him. Most of us don't have a background in philosophy, but nonetheless, see if there's some things out of that you can get that are really useful to how we think about nonviolence. And the second one is where you get to be the group expert on some of these people who have been important. And so we have come up with a list of both the Kingian historical figures, and we've added a few current figures. So what we're going to ask you to do is to pick one of these people, and you're going to become, you and a partner will be the group expert on this person. So you might want to find pictures or images, find at least a couple sentences that you could share about them. Here we said prepare one paragraph to share about each of your people. We're just going to have you have one, actually. We thought we might do two, but we're just going to do one. So we're going to go through a process. We're going to put the list of people up here, and we need you to volunteer for one or the other of them. Sherry's going to handle that part of it. But we're going to do that right now. So you will know who's your person, and it might be somebody you've never heard of. That's all right. Most of them you can find in Wikipedia, if not a zillion other places. So,
and when you all can help me, because I'm not looking at the chat, but if you drop it in the chat,
okay.
No, I would prefer people do it out loud, but I want to put the youth in like one color, or maybe it'd be easier even to just put the 18 and overs in caps and the youth in lowercase or something like that.
Because we want to pair you up with a youth and an 18-year-old over 18 with a over 18-year-old. So you have a partner that's in the same category. So
okay,
if you
do we show the
let's get the list up here and let's see what we can do here. You got to speak out now. I want to hear from you. You got to volunteer for something. So
right. And that'll make it quicker to get through this process.
Okay.
Next slide. Perfect. That's one of them.
All right. We got two lists of people here, but we'll start with the first list.
Well, let them see both of them.
All right. That's a good idea. The first four are from the civil rights era. Wangari Maathai and Malala are more recent.
Okay, and let's switch to the other one.
Be thinking about who you want to volunteer for. And there is Howard Thurman. So there's Howard. We don't have, okay.
Bugsy in there playing around.
The first four again are from the
if you're you say your name in lowercase, say the word like Arush could say Arush lowercase. I have the spellings of your name, so I'm not worried about that, but it'll just make it quick if you let me know who.
So we just say who we want to research?
Yes, you're going to be okay.
Can I study Greta Thunberg?
Yeah.
Greta Thunberg, okay.
Could I do Ella Baker?
Abby is on Greta Thunberg. Okay.
Yes, please.
Who said they would like to do Ella Baker? Could you say your name?
Alyssa Hawkins, uppercase.
Alyssa, upper, okay.
Can I do Miles Horton?
And who was that?
Zach, uppercase.
Zach, okay.
Can I do Howard Thurman?
Okay.
Who wants Howard Thurman?
Shoaib.
Shoaib.
S-H-O-E, yeah.
Okay.
Can I do Wangari Maathai?
Oh, it starts with the S, not C.
Thank goodness.
Nice.
I'm imagining that's Haya helping me.
Can
Say
Can I do Malala?
Who wants to do Malala?
Alex.
Alex? Okay.
Yeah.
Can I do Wangari Maathai? I'm Naman.
Okay.
And I can see in the chat, Sienna said, could you do Gandhi?
Okay. Who was it that wanted Wangari Maathai?
Naman.
Naman. Okay. Good.
Can I do Septima Clark?
Clark, who is that?
Ivy.
Can I do Leo?
And that is Justin?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do Tolstoy as well. Tanuva.
Justin Caps. Okay, listen, this will really help. The person you want to do, your name, and caps or lowercase. Justin. Thank you. I'm easily confused. So, all right. Who are we missing? Who are we missing?
Somebody else wanted to do Tolstoy, but
That was me.
that was Anuva.
Yeah.
I think Anuva, we have to put you on a,
Uppercase. Oh, someone else.
yeah, I think, because you are in the you're the 17 and under group, aren't you?
Oh, okay.
And that's why I was trying
I'm
to.
sure that we have to do this, but there we are. You know, we're trying to do the right thing. It's a little weird. Somebody wanted one, okay. Somebody wanted Wangari Maathai and I didn't get who that was. Oh, Naman. We just didn't get your name
It
on
was
here.
me, Naman.
Okay.
Talbot.
Can I do Bayar Rustin? Ada lowercase.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got it. Thank you.
Can I do Ella Baker? This is Nettie, uppercase.
Okay.
Wangari Maathai, I know someone wanted to do.
Naman.
Okay, great. I got it. All right. Who are we missing?
Oh, I'm fine with any of them, honestly.
Arush, you are under 18, right?
Yeah.
Okay. About half of our people are under 18, a little more than half. Let's see.
Yeah. So Ella Baker with Leo Tolstoy, we got a mismatch in terms of groups. Can everybody look at your name and see if your case is right? If not, if you're 17 and under, you should be in lowercase. If you're 18 and over, uppercase. So
I wasn't aware of the arrangement, so I just wrote names.
well, that's a good start.
Good start.
It was strange instructions.
Arush would like to go somewhere, huh?
Yeah, we don't have Arush. We have Ada. Yeah. Alex, I know you told us, but it's not here.
I'd chosen Malala, but I guess that one got both got taken. So I am willing to do really anything. So
like I said, I'm sorry about that, but I'm struggling to do what we need to do. So Leo Tolstoy, we need to change that around a little bit. We still need Arush.
Yeah. Anuva, how about, would you be willing to do Septima Clark?
Can I do Wangari Maathai?
Wangari Maathai, yes, you can.
Okay.
I love her stories, by the way. Oh.
I'll do Dorothy Cotton.
Who was that?
Arush.
Arush, and you will do?
Yeah, I think it's on the other slide.
I got it.
You got it? Okay.
So
this is Alex, and I can do Greta Thunberg.
Okay, cool. Anila, do we have?
Okay, who are we missing here?
Anila is one that we're missing, and I'm going through our list.
Neela does things in the chat. Let me look at the chat and see if we're getting any messages.
Ishna,
Are we supposed to collaborate with the other person? Yeah, if you can. We will get you email addresses of the other person. And it's good to talk about it. I mean, we'd like you to be able to do it together. We'll see how that works.
mhm.
Can I have Vandana Shiva?
Who's speaking?
It's Anella, on lowercase.
That's a good one for you, Anilla.
Thank you. I've watched her interviews before.
You have. She's another one I really am fond of. Great.
Ella,
Ruth,
Ishna. Do we have Ishna? You were looking in the,
Eddie, Ada, we have Ada.
yeah, I think Ishna and Moksha are the other people who are here today that we haven't put on the board yet.
Moksha, are you there? I'm going to look in the chat in case we can't find you, in case you're writing.
And yeah, that's it. Those were the last two.
So the
Ishna.
last two were Moksha and who else?
Moksha and Ishna.
Okay.
We can make them a group.
All right. We'll assign them something if they're not here too.
Okay, so
okay. Some people don't have a partner, as it turns out. Yet, anyway. So let's just start. Let's just start where we're at. Okay. Where is, okay. All right, this might be as far as we can get today, Sherry. Do you think so?
Yep.
All right, yeah, we had enough, yeah. All right, we'll just go with this.
Excuse me, if you're done figuring out which person everyone's going to research, can you please show us the slide where you like explained what we were supposed to do and like what we were supposed to prepare for tomorrow?
Okay. It's back a couple of slides here. Can you move it?
It's up above both of these two slides. It's 47. It's right up above the first one pairing. Here, I can share my screen.
Sorry, what? Do you want me to switch slides?
Yep, go up above the two pairing slides to number 47, please.
So much.
Okay, so this is it. Research these figures and learn about their role in the nonviolence legacy. Find pictures or images if you can, and prepare one paragraph to share about each of your people. A couple, 3 sentences is enough. Because we want to just begin to understand who these people are. And we'll keep doing this all for our whole 4 days. So you don't have to do the whole thing by tomorrow. Just bring us something for tomorrow. Even a little something, and we'll have a time later in the week to share more things you might find. Does that seem clear enough?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Ada has her hand up.
Yeah, I had a question. So like, do we make a document and then share it with you guys about our person?
Well, that might be fine. You can email it to us, or you can share a screen tomorrow.
Well, sharing a screen is a good idea. Yeah, okay.
Or you can just speak out. You can just say, when we ask you what you found, you can just tell us in a few sentences.
Okay.
But if she has a picture.
Yeah, that would be great if it's possible to share a picture.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. We hope you have a fun time tracking down who these people are and trying to get a sense of where this nonviolence legacy came from. a lot of it came from Gandhi and originally, and so that's a really important piece of the puzzle. And I know some of you had a particular interest in Gandhi, so I'm glad that we're going to start there. I think we are just about done. It's what our time is running out. Let's see, how are we doing on time?
Yep, we have 5 minutes left and
All right. Well, we might need in 10 minutes. We might need a few minutes. So, okay, let's move on to our evaluation of today. So thank you. I don't think we need, oh, there we are. Okay. All right. So what we're needing here, we like just some quick suggestions from you. This is something we always do at the end of every session. What did you like about today? What, in terms of what we did? And was there something you would like us to change or improve for the rest of our sessions? So we're just going to do this kind of popcorn style. So please speak up and say either something that you liked today and you want to be sure we continue, or something you want to change.
Something that I really liked today was the beginning activity that we did with our partner. And I don't think so there is anything that I didn't like.
Okay, thank you.
I really.
Oh, you
go
go,
ahead.
you go.
Okay, I agree with Neela. I liked how we kind of impersonated our partner. I liked that, and it was nice meeting new people. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to communicating more with everyone. Thank you.
Great, thank you, thank you.
What I enjoyed was the collaborative works that we did during this training when we were put into breakout rooms. That was kind of fun and engaging.
Good, good.
yeah, you will see more of that. All right.
More comments? Anything else people would like to add what they liked or?
Yeah, today's session was good and I didn't really had any problems. So yeah, it's good.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I really liked all the collaborative things we did. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I
Mary
really enjoyed like the whole process of you know, learning about like top down and bottom up ways of like or progressions of expanding upon your cause. That was really interesting. Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
Mhm.
this is
Thank you
just
so much.
just getting into it and you know, we'll give you more in terms of tools having to do with that later on. So good. Well, so we know what you're interested in, and that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are ready for our closing. And for this, I would just like to hear a couple of words from everybody about what you're thinking about as we leave today. we're going to just call on people because I can see the list here. Talbot, you want to start with us? What do you?
Oh, I mean, it seems pretty boring, but just like nonviolence and violence in general, and how I can like keep learning about it, I guess, before our next session.
Great. Naman?
I just went, I think.
Okay, all right. That was what you, okay, Justin?
Yeah, we were going to have people put it in the chat, and I guess they were kind of similar, you know, asking what do they want to keep and continue. But
okay.
Yeah,
That's,
if anybody has anything.
but I just want to know kind of what's on your mind as you're finishing up. Do you have a question? Or just maybe you're remembering the film?
I think everything went nice and well. Learned some things, so yeah.
Okay. Neela?
I feel like all the conversations that we had in this meeting were really important, and to be honest, I learned a lot. And like this whole time, this was like one of the first meeting that I attend because I was on vacation. And today I really learned a lot about like the civil rights, about violence, and I enjoyed it. Thank you, guys.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. Zach says, when you disagree with someone in a social, try and understand their side. Great. Okay. Who else? Let's see. Abby? What are you thinking about?
I'm just starting to think about researching Greta Thunberg and like what I'm going to do for that. That's mainly what's on my mind. And then reading. I started reading the Pilgrim to Nonviolence paper from Martin Luther King earlier. So just like working on those things. That's really what I'm thinking of.
Great, great. Okay, Ivy.
I'm definitely thinking a lot about kind of like the impact I can have and how to get everyone more involved. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Arush.
What was the question?
Just what's on your mind as you're leaving today? What are you carrying with you?
I was also reading about my person Dorothy Cotton,
Uh-huh.
and I learned that she had 3 sisters, and I'm just trying to like read more about her.
Okay, that's great. Sienna?
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry about before. It wouldn't let me unmute. I'm thinking about all the different nonviolent activists and how like I can be more like them and inspire others.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Nettie?
Yeah, I typed it in the chat, but I'm also looking up my person, Ella Baker, and just kind of reading about how she first got involved with the NAACP. And I guess it kind of makes me more excited to learn more about these people. Like obviously in school we've learned about Martin Luther King and other civil rights activists, but I wasn't really familiar with Ella Baker or some of the people on the list. So it's a really good learning opportunity.
And Nettie, look for something on her leadership style.
Will do.
All right.
Anuva.
I was just thinking about how there's how you mentioned other people besides Dr. King who played a part in the civil rights movement and don't get as much recognition for their work.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Alex.
I'm thinking about just the role nonviolence can play in activism. Because I'd heard a lot about nonviolence before, but it's really interesting to see how it is actively applied.
Thank you. Thank you. And Zach.
I said in the chat, but I liked how like when people in a social justice setting, they're very passionate about their goal. So I think it's really cool how we learn that we could stay calm and just think about the role models, such as like MLK, who was very calm.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, folks, I think we have finished for today. Some people have left already. I know we're a little late getting finished. Sherry, any last minute words you want to say?
No, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow morning. Okay, goodbye, everyone. Have a good evening. And Haya, get some rest. And NSU, who are up till midnight with us. Okay.
All right.
Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
All right.
Bye. Thank you so much.